So the game you're looking at is called Go. It looks pretty intimidating at first, but honestly, the rules to this game can be taught to you in like 2 minutes. Here, I'll go ahead and do it for you. First, players take turns by placing stones on the vertices of a grid. There is nothing else that you can do in a turn. You can't move the stones, you can't do anything but just place one stone on one vertice on the grid. That is it. If a stone were to have all of its liberties taken by being completely surrounded, then that stone would be captured and removed from the board. A group of stones would be captured in much the same way, just like so, right? The objective of the game is to use your tiles to surround different territory, thus claiming it and making your own. And at the end of the game, all of the players' territory will be tallied up and scored against each other, like this over here. You see in this top right corner, white has surrounded it and captured this. There's a big black section in the middle right here. White has taken most of this left side. There's some no man's land right here, a little white area, a little black area, and that's kind of it. Looks like black won decisively just by having a much bigger territory here in the middle that white wasn't quite able to fight for. Now, according to the Wikipedia page, Go is somewhere between 2,300 to 500 years older than Christ. It's an incredibly old game. We've been playing it for at least 2,500 years. And in that entire time, this game has not been mastered. Not even close. Compared to chess, if we look at this board, this 19 by 19 vertices totals up to well over 300 different possible moves. And if we were to sequence those out to try to figure out lines of play, we're talking about like scientific notation number of lines to play, right? Artificial intelligence still struggles to fully compute and fully understand this game. It's part of what makes it so beautiful. And there's even an entire movie that is free to watch on YouTube that sort of documents this battle between AI trying to master this game through statistical brute force and humans trying to master the game through intuition and sort of feel and stuff like that. So to me, Go is sort of this perfect game that was made. It's very simple. You can understand it immediately. And yet, for like 2,500 to 4,000 years, people, like societies, can't master it, right? It's that complex. If we go back to the wiki article, it does mention here that it was considered one of the 4 essential arts of a cultured Chinese scholar. And whenever we are playing video games and we're playing in these tournaments and whatnot, maybe it's silly, but I like to think that we are following in this same tradition that we have followed with like chess and Go and stuff like that, of elevating these silly games that are like maybe juvenile and not quote unquote real up to like respected art forms and crafts in their own right. You know, I think that that's really cool. But what interests me from a game's perspective is that nowadays, now that we have moved into a realm of digital gaming, we live in a time where games are such commercial products that they have to be updated and tweaked very frequently to be able to keep them relevant in a way that wasn't necessary before. And it is a little bit of a shame that we won't have the same opportunity to sort of look back and appreciate how far we have come in our ideas and concepts for play in these games, like people are able to do with a game like Go or chess or something like that, is what I would say. But actually, I just scrolled down, and as it turns out, this game used to be played on a 17 by 17 grid. That's 2 numbers different than the grid we play on now. Now, as it turns out, patching has kind of always been a thing, and it's just kind of good. If the question is, should you patch or should you not patch, I think the ability to patch your game is indispensable. It's not a luxury that we've always had, and I think it's really important that we're able to do it now. I think a more important question is, what is the patching philosophy? How frequently are we doing it, and what are our interests? Are we trying to protect the competitive integrity and try to focus play into a particular set of skills that we highly value? Or are we trying to keep as many players engaged and happy with the product as possible? I feel like often, since these are commercial products and not competitive platforms, the answer typically leans towards the latter, and I'm not entirely sure if that's a positive thing or not. But there are some downsides that come with patching, and I think that they're worth addressing. For example, League of Legends is not the same game that I played in high school, by a long shot. A good amount of that, to be fair, is the fact that I'm now 29, I'm not 16, and I'm not in awe of a new genre that I get to play with my friends. I'm sitting in my house alone, not playing this game with anybody, other than these 4 idiots on my team that I fucking hate. But a decent amount of it is the fact that it's been updated for those 13 years. There's like a force multiplier on the number of characters. The entire map looks different. There's like 30 new objectives. And somehow, it's way less fun. How did they do that? And I think the worst part about that is that if you wanted to go and see if your appreciation for Retro League was just like nostalgia goggles on, you don't have the ability to just go test that anymore. Because it's gone. It's been patched for 13 years and it's gone. I think there were some people who were trying to create like a classic League of Legends experience, but they got shut down by Riot for reasons that I'm sure we could all imagine. Another downside is that even if you want to be dedicated to one single discipline, sometimes you can get caught up in practicing something that is going to be completely irrelevant in just the next few years. Personal example, when I first started getting into fighting games, one of the first games that I played was Street Fighter 4, and towards the tail end of that game, my 2 most played characters were Yang and Relinto. These are both really mobile characters with combos, right? They're Rekka characters with tricky movement. That's like their thing. So I got really used to playing that kind of playstyle. Come Street Fighter V, in the 6 years that that game was out, there was not one character that could do a Rekka without first activating V-Trigger. Not one. 6 years. Now in Street Fighter 6, I have a character that has a Rekka again, but A, he's not very good. And B, I just don't have the same drive that I did like 6 years ago. Waiting around for all that time for a character that I enjoyed playing to come around again just drained me, man. Like, I just don't have the drive to play Street Fighter like that anymore. And to finally like get around to the point, I think this is one area that I've really come to respect Tekken in. Tekken is a series that very obviously updates the way that its system mechanics works every iteration to try to keep things fresh and interesting. But if you were to go and look at footage of an older Tekken game right now and you see a familiar character, you're going to see them do strings and be like, yeah, I got hit by that literally yesterday. Like, I know exactly what that string is. It's back 214 or whatever. Tekken is a series where like your main character, like 9 out of 10 times is coming back. Like, unless you pick like Geese Howard or Noctis or something like that in the last game, like most of the characters are here. Like, everybody you would expect to be. In the instance where your character didn't come back, like Heihachi, you're now way cooler. So that's nice. If you played like Gigas or something, should have picked a cooler character. I don't know what to tell you. But in general, when you pick a character in Tekken that has been around, you're picking a character that is going to be around. And the games are like additive, right? So the characters tend to get new strings and new options, but they don't replace any of the old options that you had. You're always building upon the skills that you built years prior, and that's what makes it a legacy game. Now, Tekken 8, when it first launched, it had its problems. It was pretty controversial. Like, Korean backdashing, way de-emphasized. I don't even really do that shit anymore. I think most people don't do it anymore. Chickening, I'm pretty sure is gone. Throw teching is now, I feel, significantly easier, especially now that they've added animations to all of the different throws. But like when the game first came out, super centralizing mechanics. There's like the bar that gives you the plus on block, like tracking move that was insane, and then gave all of your moves chip damage, and then made you plus on block again, and you could push people into the wall and be even more plus on block. Like the most plus on block shit I've ever seen in my life. I don't know why they did that, but that's fixed now, so that's pretty good. That's a point for patching, right? But I really do feel like Tekken is like the sweet spot. They like present the same thing each iteration, but with just a little twist, you know? This time it's not Coca-Cola. This is Cherry Coke. You know, it's a different thing. And then next game, we're gonna have Vanilla Coke, and then guess what's after that? Vanilla Cherry Coke, right? We're gonna mix the two. It's gonna be insane. You're gonna want to be there for that. One thing I will say though is that when a game has reached the end of its life cycle and it is not going to receive any more updates, I do wish that we were a little bit better about sticking with that game from time to time and just playing it out and just seeing what happens. The one fighting game that I think is like the chess, the Go of fighting games, where it can genuinely be played for the next 100 years and not be touched at all, is Melee. It's already been played for like, what, 20, like almost 30 years, I think, something like that. Jesus Christ. No, it's not 30. No, it's insane. No, because that was before I was born. No, that's not possible. But at least like 23 years. I think it came out in 2001. 23 years, right? Something like that. Last time I checked in on Melee, Melee was growing. And the fact that you can now boot it up and play it online with other people with rollback netcode entirely for free and with better graphics is helping a lot. Like, that's a really big part of that. On the traditional fighting game side, I feel like we kind of don't have that game. Like, the closest thing I could think of is Third Strike. That's kind of the Street Fighter where it seems popular enough and there's like always so many people playing it on Fightcade and such a rabid fan base for everything from the characters in that game all the way down to the music and just the style and presentation and let's go Justin, Parry, the Evil 137, you know, everybody loves that shit. But even still, it doesn't have the same prestige and like you're running a fighting game tournament, you gotta have Third Strike there. It's a necessity to have Third Strike there. It doesn't have that same push that like Melee does. Melee, if you're running a platform fighting game tournament and Melee isn't there, what the fuck are we doing here? Like are we playing Ultimate? Is that what we're doing? Because I'm gonna go home. And it stinks because there are some really cool games that end up getting retrofitted with really good support that just don't end up getting played. Like Persona 4 Arena Ultimax came out on Steam. It has rollback netcode. It's an incredibly fun game, and it's incredibly hard to find matches just organically on there. Another example is like BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. Jesus. BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle got retrofitted with a rollback netcode, and it was like DOA. Like I couldn't even find matches on the rollback like when it came out. So that was tough. I don't really think there's a good fix for this other than just enough people being attached to a game. You know, like I think I'm just kind of shaking my fist at the clouds. There's nothing we can really do about it. But now that I'm thinking about it, I think the other game that could get this really big push if it was retrofitted with rollback netcode is Marvel 3. Just because that fan base is so incredibly rabid. And the interesting thing about Marvel 3 is that once it gets rollback netcode, which I think some modders are working on still, it's going to be split between like not vanilla Marvel 3, but like Ultimate Marvel 3, just unmodded, and then modded, like the community edition with all the additional community characters. And I think that is going to be an interesting split in that community. It's effectively like having a difference between like a Melee and a Project M, right? Same principles, but with additional characters and stuff thrown in. So I don't know. That'll be an interesting timeline if we ever get there. But yeah, let me know how you feel about patches. Let me know if there's any old games that you wish everybody was still playing. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. All right, peace.